Hi, how you doing?
I'm good. What's up, guys?
How you doing? Gotta love technology, huh?
Right. Got like nine screens around me and this like ring light and then the natural light and then and just to hang out with guys who I feel like I'm underdressed now. I need to get one of those hoodies.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we'll have the t-shirts up pretty soon. Yeah, we definitely get you one of those
Nice.
for sure. So, for people that don't know who you are, tell us a little about yourself.
Well, first I would say, how dare you not know who I am?
Right.
No, I'm Clay Edgin. I've been training grip since 2003 when I first got into the gym at age 24 or something like that. Uh, and I've been competing in it since then. Been to Russia a few times for the arm lifting pro world championships, and probably have done, I don't know, I'd say somewhere between the 15 and 20 competitions here in the US, from kind of hosting my own and competing in them to also going to like the Fit Expo and the Arnold and stuff like that, and promoting probably another dozen grip contests, where I'm not competing in those.
Wow. Okay, so we did get a fan question come in. They wanted to know the story behind the Edgin bolt.
So when I was in, I think it was 2006, I flew to Wyalusing, Pennsylvania to Jed's Global Grip Challenge. I think it was the first year he had it, maybe the second year. I'm not even sure what year it was, to be honest with you. And it's a little bit of a longer story, but the short version is that bolt was the last in a line you could choose from to bend for points in that event. There was like grippers. I think he did like a Mash Monster set. Back then we called it a parallel set, and you could do, it was like the Euro pinch and the V-bar and all that, and bending was one of the events. It was red nail, and then the grade 5/16 tempered steel bolt was the next one after the red nail. And guys were bending the red nail at maybe 6 inches at that point. And a couple of us did the red nail, and a shorter red nail gets more points, of course. And nobody tried the grade 5. And I asked Jed if I could take a few home with me. He's like, yeah, sure, brother. Take as many as you need. You know how Jed is. He's great.
Yeah.
So I grabbed a fistful, which was like three, and I put them in the bag. A couple weeks after the contest, when I'd recovered and remembered about them, I warmed up and I started to push into one. And I was like, there's no way in hell this was an appropriate gauge from a red to, the next step up after a red. It was such a big gap. I was already hitting like 5.5 inch reds at that point, like 6 inch reds for volume, and the grade 5 didn't go anywhere. And so I found some other like drill stock, went to the fat bastard stuff, worked up there, did the square stuff, and those felt like really good jumps in between. And then finally I was like, yes, I'm ready. I've done my like Rocky training montage where I'm like punching the beef in the freezer, getting ready for this bolt. So I wrap it up and I hit it as hard as I can, and it's not moving. And I feel like this connective tissue here that maybe isn't as connective anymore. And it starts to move it a little bit. And I felt the bolt get hot against my neck. I just felt this rush, and I hit it as hard as I could. And I got it to about maybe 15 degrees in the first effort. I showed my wife at the time, and I was like, look, I bent this bolt. And she's like making hamburger helper or something, and she doesn't care at all. She's like, good job, honey. So I keep working on it in my little apartment living room. I get it to about 45 degrees after about 30 minutes. And I'm just spent, like just busted capillaries in my face. My hand has like a blister in it, like I'm showing you because you can see it right now or something.
Yeah.
And I'm just spent. And I'm like, this thing is doable. I promise. And I only told a couple of good friends about it because at the time, the only forum for grip training was the grip board, and you couldn't make claims on things unless you had it on video or like someone was there to back it up for you. So I didn't want to get in trouble with the internet for saying that I could do a thing I couldn't show on the internet yet. Um, Very serious times then. So the next week I come back after the hills up, and I crush that bolt down to under 2 inches. And I'm like, oh shit, like now I can show this thing off, but I want to do it all in one kind of fell swoop. I got two bolts. I got the other bolt wrapped up, and I hit that one, and I took it down in maybe 5 minutes. It felt like forever, but it wasn't nearly as long as even the crush on that first one was. And I was like, yes, I feel like a legitimate bender. I don't want anybody else who's done this before. And so I put it on the internet on the grip board. I'm like, guys, look, I bent this bolt, and it's really cool. And people were like, that's BS or congratulations or anything in between. I think not long after that, I moved out of this state, left a lot of my stuff behind, or didn't really keep as much into bending or grip training as much, more into like strongman and powerlifting. And I came back to it maybe in 2011, 2012, just to see how the world of bending was doing. And I saw someone call it the Edgin bolt for the first time. And I thought to myself, like, that's my name. Why are they calling it that bolt? And I want to let the world know I'm not that much of an ass when I want to name a bolt after myself. I'm very happy it is, but I'm not the guy who was like, it's the me bolt, bend it. I'm just really excited to be a part of something like that because, this is not on the same level at all, but they have the McLashin stones and the Denny stones, and they have the this bar and the that challenge. And if my name gets stuck on this thing for a little while longer, I'll really feel like I have an impact in a very painful, challenging area of grip strength that's been hard for me to make progress in. So I really appreciate, please keep calling it the Edgin bolt. I love it.
That's awesome. So on the same topic of steel bending, what do you feel like you learned the most from steel bending?
Oh, persistence. And that when you hit that bar, a new bar for the first time, and there's that little bit of uncertainty and you're not sure, and then it gets warm and it starts to go or flex a little bit and you get excited and you want to push harder and harder into it. There's this period, maybe it lasts 7 seconds or 7 years, who knows, in that time. And you're not sure whether you're going to push so hard you pass out, but you can't exhale yet. And when it begins to go, it's so satisfying. It's a great metaphor for whatever you're going through, whether it is in the gym or at work or with your wife making hamburger helper who doesn't care about your world record bending attempts. It just is like, push a little bit harder, don't pass out, push a little bit harder, and maybe you'll get through it.
Just reminded me of Ben Edwards setting up his bench to catch him. So when he backs down, he can just wake back up and keep going.
It's a real thing. I think I've gotten the stars a few times from bending, but yeah, at the time when I got into it, I was still pretty close to 400 pounds and was trying to come down from that. So I knew that anything I fell was going to get crushed, and I had like a newborn walking around. I didn't want to make that a thing.
Yeah. So what motivates you to compete?
Man, that's a good question. I love having a date on the calendar to be ready by. For me, I got to have like a goal. I wasn't always like that, but being around people who were in strength sports and saying like, we're going to compete on March 21st. You want to go? Getting into it that way, and then being like, I got to have a contest every 3 to 5 months, or I don't have any focus in my training, and I feel like a useless POS. So now it's just a part of like my regular life rhythm. Is like all last year, I didn't compete except once at the end of December, and I felt like just a turd floating along, spiraling for no reason. I think most of us did for the same reason. And then when 2021 hit, I signed up for powerlifting nationals, and I'm waiting to go to Russia whenever that opens up again. But I'm even considering hosting another contest here in Austin, just so I can like have a date on the calendar I got to be ready by. It just focuses your training. And if you're new to it and you're thinking about competing, absolutely should do it. I love nothing more than like meeting somebody who's brand new to a sport and being like, hey, cool, check this out. Use this chalk, try this grip, do this, and pass whatever I know on to somebody else who's going to get something out of it.
Absolutely. Awesome. We have 2 competitions in July if you want to fly out here,
Yeah.
That's probably better than being in Texas in July.
Probably is. Absolutely.
How many 100 days of degrees do you have in a row out there?
Maybe one.
I don't want to go that day, but I'll come the other days.
One or two at the most.
If it even hits 100.
Yeah, that's a rare occasion here.
Yeah.
Could be raining.
So on the topic of competition, tell us a little about your work with Armlifting USA, and obviously we're doing our first competition with Armlifting USA in July. So tell everybody a little bit about that and what they should know about Armlifting USA.
Sure. Well, Ode began doing these grip contests with the Rolling Thunder back in 2006. I think it was in Hawaii, maybe even 2000. We know the Rolling Thunder has evolved over the years and different handle then than it is now. But our Russian friends, I found a way to really formalize the sport.
It was actually 2001 because he's saying ours is the 20th anniversary.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you. I should know that. Sorry, Ode. So our Russian friends, they have the resources and they have all the connections to formalize it into a really robust sport out there. We went to Worlds the first time, there were over 170 athletes, and it was only their, I think, 3rd year holding the competition.
Oh, wow.
And it was, we got invited, I got invited in January and I had to go in May. So being really new to it, we kind of formed Armlifting USA along the way. I got the invites in January. We formed the body of Ricardo, Ode, and I, which is a weird body if you think of that like physically morphing us together. Mostly Ode's beard these days. And going to Russia and kind of representing, and then watching it grow from there, being able to say like, hey guys, come with us to Russia. It's cool. They love us there. I don't speak any of it, but you can win really cool medals and be like a professional at something that you do in your garage already. So that was kind of an idea of doing it. Then creating the rankings to establish a Team USA labeled people who could train in their garages and compete in their garages to get a passport and a visa and get on a plane overseas, maybe for the first time in their lives. Some of the competitors in 2019 had never left the country or even the state before. So it was a chance they got to have a really unique experience.
Yeah, I think that's part of what we saw and drew us to it, was that we see guys training in their garage, and we're thinking during this pandemic, what a perfect sport to be involved with.
Yeah, that's like Cody, from Beyond the Bend. He's got he's doing jujitsu, and his gym closed because of COVID. Wanted to keep his skills sharp, got into nail bending and grip stuff, and he'll be on the rankings too when he gets into a competition.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, what do you consider your greatest athletic achievement?
Oh, I don't think I have any athletic abilities. No, I think from competing in strongman, I think any kind of farmer's walk. I did a contest where we did a max carry for 20 feet, and I did 440 per hand for 20 feet without any drops. I felt like that maybe took the most like life force out of my bank to accomplish that, and hitting the number 4 from parallel a few times for full closes. I don't know. I'm still like kind of unraveling the mystery of how to get this 40-year-old body like a little bit stronger, and using different technologies and different strategies, talking to really smart people to make it happen. So I feel like, and this is going to sound like another douchebag thing to say, but I don't think I've hit that peak yet to where I can say this is the number one thing I'm the most proud of I've ever lifted or bent in my life. There's been a lot of really hard things I've lifted because I've either done them wrong or wasn't strong enough, or they were at the max level of what I could do. But I'm excited to see what like I can look back on in 20 years and say, oh, that was the thing that took 7 years off my life, but I locked that rep out, or I bent that bar,
Exactly.
or like, that gripper is like smashed shut. It's never going to open again.
Exactly.
Exciting. And that also is part of the drive of continuing to train as well.
Yeah, you're at that age where you're really starting to get into the few years when you do peak. Like early mid 40s it's usually where most guys get about their strongest, and that's
because
pretty
we all
cool spot.
discovered testosterone therapy. Yeah, right.
So, on that topic, what is your greatest blunder, blooper, and/or injury?
Oh man, there are more of those than accomplishments in some cases. I got once accidentally disqualified in an event in Southern California because I was drinking a Red Bull between attempts on the Ironman blockbuster pinch block. And I was blowing onto my hands to kind of like warm them up. And the promoter thought I was cheating by spitting my Red Bull coated saliva onto my hands for extra friction. If I had thought about that, I would have done it, but I didn't. And so I was just trying to get like a little bit of stickum on there from my bad breath, because it works when you breathe on it and the handle's smooth. And he's like, no points for you on this event. You got to sit it out until the grippers. And I was like, oh no, the grippers. That's fine. Let's see. I've blown open calluses doing dumb things, like farmer's walk holds for max time when I was supposed to be competing in something else, doing moss wrestling the day before a grip contest or even on the same day. That's always never done well for me because I just blow out my hands totally, either with the calluses or the strength. Grip training, you use some calluses and things, but it's not like you're holding a barbell or a pulley attachment at the gym. So since everything is smooth or thick handled, I don't really have like robust calluses on here, and they'll tear pretty easily.
Yeah, that's pretty brutal when you rip open a callus. Your training's done for like a week.
Right. And it's
a couple weeks maybe. Yeah.
It's like the one thing you're like decently pretty good at. You're like, who even am I? I can't grab anything.
Exactly. You're done. You're useless at that point. Like you said, we don't have athleticism.
You feel so terrible. You see a hockey player just get smashed, his whole face is bleeding, missing 2 teeth, and he's like, let's just skate back on the ice. You get a little blister, you're like, I'm done. I can't compete. I'm done. I'm out. I'm out.
Yeah, I know. It's the worst.
A little splinter.
I mean, a lot of us get into the sport because we can't be as competitive in our primary sport anymore. Like Cody, whose gym closed, or me when I get a little bit banged up from powerlifting and strongman, coming back to grip all the time. Lots of guys Jed was an amazing pitcher all through his school years. Shoulder can't do what it was doing. He could have gone pro with some of the pitches he had. But we get into another sport where we can kind of excel, and it's interesting to see. Like I call it like the island of misfit toys, from real sports, like trickle in to grip. Like you guys look like athletes from either now or back in the day. Like, what'd y'all play?
This guy was a ball sporter.
Yeah, I was a triathlete and a bowler, so I played football, baseball, basketball, and competitive bowling. So
yeah,
and I have strictly a martial arts background.
Cool, really diverse stuff.
Absolutely. So we talked about bending a little bit earlier, and we mentioned almost passing out on a couple bends. I went into a little bit of a competition with John Flaherty in the Beyond the Bend challenge for the shortest piece of steel you could bend. And we were taking the 1/4 inch down, I think down below 3.5 inches. It was nuts, the 1/4 inch round. So I got lightheaded doing like 1/4 inch just under 4 and 1/4 inch like just above 3.5 was just brutal for me, and the crush insane. So yeah, when that started happening, I started bending in the grass thinking, oh man, if I pass out, at least I'll land here. So what environment do you find the best for your bending?
Oh, I always ended up being some garage with landmines of blobs and dumbbells and stuff like that you don't want to fall into. You like pingo your way down to the ground between all the rusty metal. It's a lot of it's been my most formative bending years, I guess you could say. We're in an apartment living room, probably about as big as this when I first got into it. Then I had a home gym. Most times now it's either for demonstrations at fairs or businesses or whatever else, fundraisers. Yeah, I'd say I don't have to worry about soft landings anymore. There's enough like soft stuff to kind of cushion the blow when I land. But I'll take your grass tip though if I ever get lightheaded again.
So when you first started doing shows, did the crowd and having a bunch of people around watching you, did that distract you at all?
It did, because I'd done some public speaking in the past. Did some poetry readings. I'll say it out loud. That's fine. Don't judge me too harshly. I used to do a lot of writing and go to these open mic nights and do that kind of stuff. So I got kind of used to it, and they were small groups because nobody wanted to hear open mic night anyways. And you kind of get the sense of being on a platform with a microphone. But being nail bending in public or doing frying pan rolls, when you're focused on the effort, you kind of tune out what's happening in front of you, and then you open your eyes and you're like, oh, there's 200 people watching me. I better not mess this up. Oh wait, I have a great blunder story. Just thinking about being in front of a bunch of people. I was doing a demonstration at an old folks home. Who knows if they all knew what was going on. And I had this new leather I was wrapping these 60 penny nails in. And the very first nail I bent double overhand, the nail punctured the leather and it went into the fat of my palm right here. And it was like, once in a while you cut a hand, like you cut a hangnail, you cut a fingertip, you can kind of push through it. But that was like some tissue that had come out, probably a 3/4 inch gash. And I had like put my fingertip on it to hold it in. And I was like, I'm sorry, I have to discontinue the show. I'm going to the ER now. And they all were like, I had no idea what was going on. And so I came back like 2 months later, did the full show, with the new scar on my palm. And one woman who was still there was like, how is your hand? I thought she was so sweet. But yeah, like putting a nail through my hand, was not my best moment.
That's awesome. So that's crazy. Yeah, and luckily I haven't stabbed my hand yet doing that.
It's like it's just a matter of time. It's a numbers game, right? It's going to be a time where your single leather wrap blows, or not to scare you, but keep your wraps fresh and chalked, and your hands ready. I mean, there's always a story of Dennis Rogers doing like the nail drive, and he had the nail in wrong, and it came through his hand, stigmata style.
I've never seen that. He did that?
Yeah, I don't think it went all the way penetrated through, but I think it got him in there enough to where he had an issue with it.
Oh man, what a crazy mistake to make. I guess when you're going quick and you're just pumped up, but man, wow.
He's such a ball of intensity, when he's doing these demonstrations. So I'll always check the head first, kids.
Right. So I was actually leading into my the next bending question was, do you get yourself pumped up? Do you get really intense before you bend? Do you do certain music, or what do you do leading up to your bend to get you psyched up and ready for it if you're going for like a big PR or something?
Yeah, I like a good psych up. I know, and now being 40, I can't go dip into that well too deep too often, because it's just going to screw up everything else. And I want to be able to really give that intensity to max effort things. I also don't go after really big bends or really big lifts very frequently. So I think that will allows time to replenish, and it's a practice you get into at some point. It's a ceremony you give yourself, whether you're walking around. I tend to pace and make mad dog eyes at the nail as if that's going to do anything. And
I pace around a lot too. Yeah.
Yeah, right. Just be like, look what you're making me do to you right now. But I think to myself, like, people don't think you can do this. You're illegitimate. You're not worthy of being here. This nail is beyond you. Like lots of like self-doubt talk, which is not my thing. And my shirt says like know your worth. Like I'm all about like self-affirmations. So these things are really triggering for me to be like, yes, I am worth it. Yes, I am strong enough. People will believe me that I can do it. And then that kind of like fuels the fire. And then it's just like the red out, you know how it goes, and the nail's done after that.
Nice.
So what is one of your current athletic goals right now?
Training for powerlifting nationals in June down in San Antonio, about an hour and a half away. Would like to get back to the 700-pound barrier for the deadlift. Currently in the mid sixes, and training's going very well. And we still have just about 2.5 months to go. So it's entirely possible, I think. And to do it at 40 would be really meaningful because I hadn't done it since I was, I think, 34, 35, which is also when a lot of men peak for their maximal strength. Honestly, I'm just happy to be here for the most part, like lifting heavy things and being relatively healthy of body.
Well, sweet. I still have a couple of years before I hit that peak strength then, huh?
Yeah.
Well, it always changes, right? Because like I'll never squat more than like 550 on a straight bar on my back again, but I can do a heavier axle deadlift now. I can start a new sport in 3 years and get stronger in that. So when you like hit a wall with something or you acknowledge your peak in a certain way, you can always go, now let's try this, or now let's try this. And you always have another direction to push if you're honest with yourself that like, I shouldn't go heavier than 550 on that squat. That was a lot for my body. That's good enough for me.
Absolutely.
So you've been around a ton of strong dudes, obviously. What's the most impressive feat that you've seen, grip and in strength sport?
I used to live with Ode Haugen for about a year. He and my best friend, Dan Harrison, we all lived in Ode's house, ate his food, dirtied up his pool. And he would have pro strongmen come by often and hang out for a weekend of training. And at the end of the weekend, both Saturday and Sunday, I remember seeing all the guys were trying to clean the inch dumbbell. So Brian Shaw's high pulling it, Ode's trying to high pull it. I think Mike Burke got it up to his shoulder. Kevin Nee was trying. I don't think Mike Burke was there that weekend. Anyway, watching all these guys fall on World's Strongest Man like the month before, trying to high pull and clean this inch dumbbell that if you guys have tried it, it doesn't want to be pulled off the ground at all.
No, we're getting an inch in the next couple months. We ordered one from Jed, and we should have it hopefully before June. So we're pretty stoked about that. We've never even put our hands on one. So
awesome. You're going to hate it.
Good. Perfect. That's what I want. As long as I can get it off the ground someday.
Right. Yeah, seeing that, and then seeing a lot of the pro strongman at the.
So who was it that cleaned it? You said
I saw Brian get it to like here. He couldn't turn it over. Brian's like 6'8", Yeah. He was only 385 then.
Oh, okay.
When he was an amateur, and he was 285 then. So when I saw him, I was like, "Holy, you are huge now! What are you doing?" I think he said like he eats 3 Chipotle burritos a day or something to that effect to get that big. So watching, Mike Burke try to clean 2 at the same time at the Fit Expo, impressive to me, and it's just beyond comprehension to me. And I can do, like I said, 6 or 8 reps either hands, with some effort, but to high pull it is just.
That's awesome.
Yeah, Mike Burke's a monster, man. His axle record stood for a long time.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Hopefully Kevin Nee didn't injure himself.
No. Not that day.
Not that day.
That guy's awesome. Nobody ever told him he was small. That's for sure. That guy.
He sent it so hard at a young age. Oh my gosh. Yeah.
And he's such a nice dude.
Yeah.
He was a contest I was competing in Arizona, and he was so helpful. I competed against Jerry Pritchett that day when he was an amateur, and he was so helpful. He's like, "Hey, you're going to beat Jerry on stones. You're going to do this, and he didn't even know me. He didn't have to be nice.
Man, that's awesome. Yeah, I've heard he runs a gym now, doesn't he?
I'm not sure. I got to follow up with him. He's one of those dudes who you want to see he does well in the industry.
Exactly.
A lot of guys who are trainers go into strongman, or those who get out of strongman open the gym. When they're with their pro card, they have some credibility, and they all deserve to make it. And it's a really hard industry to stay alive in, especially with COVID happening. And your body doesn't move like it used to, so it's a very physical job. It's labor of love. So if you're a strong man or you own a gym, like keep pushing. I'll see what Kevin's up to these days too.
Yeah, you'll have to let us know for sure. So, what are some lifestyle habits you subscribe to that may benefit the average person trying to get healthy or fit?
I started tracking my resting heart rate every morning, which gives kind of a general readiness score, like my heart rate variability and resting heart rate. Higher your resting heart rate variability, that's the time in milliseconds between the beats of your heart. Longer or higher heart rate variability indicates more readiness for activity. Shorter, it might indicate you need to have to take a recovery day. Using metrics like those things give me a better shot of having a productive day. So if I wake up and my HRV is 80, I know I'm pretty well ready for any activity I want to give myself and I can push hard. If I wake up and I'm hungover and it's 15, I probably ought to just like drink some water and sit in the sun for a while to kind of let things migrate like the way they're supposed to. Being able to quantify, if you can, as many measurable markers within your body, from doing blood testing, going every 12 weeks to get labs done to make sure triglycerides and everything else, all your levels are where they're supposed to be. Not just talking about testosterone. I mean, like get a good deep dive into the labs, and where there are things that need to be brought up, bring those up, because what you're going to see is when you bring in, say you improve your triglyceride levels, your strength will increase. When you make sure you're hydrated, have enough electrolytes, you'll sleep better, you'll recover better, your strength will increase. Any like kink in the hose you can undo, any like knob you can dial is going to bring your entire system up. So I find that when I start doing things like using the electrical stimulation machine my company sells, or using the other biometrics to track things, they all have a measurable and tangible and immediate progress. This is why I get so excited about training and like the next contest. And why I say I don't think there's a peak yet for me, because I have discovered these new technologies and these new ways to track what's happening in my body with the foods I eat and the things I drink, even though I do drink a bit of bourbon. Um, there are ways to measure all these things. And if you really look at those numbers, you're going to be able to put a plan together to tweak them to get a little bit better every day and every week.
Bourbon's just for after the contest, right? When you're
right. I got to have my vices. I'm a human man. It's fine.
Yeah. I already killed myself. I might as well just finish the job. I'm going to rest anyway. It's a few days.
I already like suffered micro traumas. Let's just deal with the emotional traumas now.
So that kind of leads right into the next question with all the new technologies and everything. So if you could start your training all over again with the knowledge you know today, what would you do differently?
I mean, it isn't just because I work for the company, but I would save money to buy one of these newbies. It's a direct current muscle stimulator. Using lighter weights, you can grow the muscles faster and don't have to expose the joints to heavy loads. I would have also spent a lot more money on coaching in the beginning, but since I had the same knowledge then, gosh, I would have started tracking biometrics a lot sooner. Not just weight on the scale or lean body mass, but those blood markers and everything else I was talking about. Having an idea of what's happening in your body on any given day gives you a really good roadmap of what you can expect from it. So you're never disappointed with training because you know what the plan is going to be. And if I would have had, 20 years of that experience, I don't know where I would be. I'd be maybe professional something or other in some real sport instead of arm lifting. Not that arm lifting isn't a real sport. Don't kill me. But I mean, like a sports ball team sport. You know what I mean? Like on TV sports.
You mean one that you make a lot of money in?
Yeah,
right. One that pays me, not one that I pay.
Yeah, one that exactly you can have a career in.
Right.
Okay, so on the opposite side of quantitative, we're going to talk a really qualitative question here. And what do you imagine in your mind when you're steel bending? What do you use visualization? Is there anything you specifically see in your third eye when you're doing a steel bend?
Imagine heat. I know that the molecules of the steel, when you're bending them, the friction creates heat, and I think about wanting to feel that heat of the nail as I'm bending it. I know if I'm feeling it, and it's getting hot, that's good. I don't always know where the angle is, but if I can feel it, the analogy I've heard when learning about this is, you can imagine like think of a garden hose is kind of like your steel bar, and inside is grains of sand representing the molecules and the steel and carbon. And as you're bending, those molecules of sand rub together and create friction as the steel bends. And I like that analogy because it inspires me to take what is a room temperature object and heat it up using only my efforts, which is very kind of exciting for me. So getting more of a molecular feel of it is thinking like, I want to make this bar hot. I want to make it hot, move it fast, keep it moving. Because on a lot of these tempered steel bolts, you know that if you let off them a little bit, they'll spring back. If you let them cool down, they're hard to get going again. So once the bar gets hot, make it white hot and melt it as fast as possible.
That's neat. That's actually one of the first things you're taught to visualize when you start learning visualization is heat. When you start learning meditation and whatnot, that's one of the very first things that you're taught to use is heat. So that's pretty cool. Yeah. I never really thought of it that way, honestly. So I like that. That's pretty neat.
Especially when you're snapping, you definitely need that metal nice and hot.
Yeah,
you actually snap that bolt. So
yeah, we just jumped into our first ventures into snapping the other day. I snapped a red nail in the Ben Sport Canada red wraps. That was brutal and crazy. I should have done it in leathers, but I wanted to try out the wraps and I wanted to see how my hands would do, and I wanted to wear them in. So it was pretty fun.
How'd your hands do on that?
Oh, just fine. They're fine today. I was actually going to do a nunchuck video for Jokabug, smacking my palms to show that your hands can be really tough from nunchucking, and they kind of keep you safe when you do steel bending a little bit, because I have no bruises or no marks and I can smack them pretty good. Now, a heavy bench press would probably be a little bit rough because there's a little bit of tenderness here, but it's not too bad.
And John's place in Maui is amazing. His whole front yard is all these stones from like 80 pounds to 600 pounds. It's like it looks like a graveyard of weights, all rusted. But he uses all this stuff. It's not like it's just there for display or to piss off his neighbors. And you couldn't even see it behind because he has like a 6-foot hedge around his yard. And you go into his backyard and he has these little wiener dogs running around. He has a little built-on shed in the back where he has blobs and inch dumbbells and all these things that some he'll lift and some he won't have a chance at until he's much older. But he has them because he loves them. And it's neat to be like a guy who loves it so much. And I told him he's one of the guys who's kind of been most prolific on social media, not in spite of his age, but because of his positivity and how much he genuinely loves this stuff and shipping things around the world. And he sent me home with a couple of devices that he made for me while I was there on Maui, and my name imprinted in them. It wouldn't take any money for him. And that's a good guy. That's a guy you want to support and buy stuff from on a regular basis.
Absolutely. I'm going to be putting up nunchaku videos for him every week for the whole year. So
yeah,
he likes nunchucking and wants to learn it. So why not? I'll throw it at him.
Send him a pair. The man will send a video of you every day of him doing it. He would love it.
Oh, he has a pair. He's just he's got to shorten the chain and then he's going to start working on it. He's told me. So it's awesome.
Yeah, he seems like a really cool guy. That's for sure. And he's seeing his birthday videos was really cool to see how well respected he was and how everybody just gathered around and sent him videos. It was really cool because I know he does the same thing for everybody else. So that was awesome to see everybody kind of honor him.
Yeah. He teaches a lot of people arm wrestling in his community too. He coaches a number of athletes there. Some have won kind of state honors. He's been an arm wrestler for a long time. So a guy that loves to learn and give back is somebody we want to keep supporting.
Yeah, definitely. So what odd training methods or techniques have you stumbled upon that have significantly increased your performance compared to conventional methods?
Oh man, if you follow me on Insta Media, probably see that electrical stimulation machine I'm using often. Which gets such a better workout using it than not using it. And I have this fold out rolling cart that's about 3 feet by 2 feet with this machine about as big as your dad's old VCR sitting on top of it. Which this isn't like this is like a $15,000 stim unit with a portable battery, and I have these 8-foot long wires and electrodes all over my body. And I'm at Gold's Gym doing 30-pound curls, training they're 230 pounds because that's what the stim's doing to my muscles. And we're all wearing masks out here in Texas until recently. So I look like Bane, I think, like a sweatier, like if Bane and Shrek had a baby, it'd be that, me doing 30-pound curls at Gold's Gym with this cart next to me with wires. So it's kind of like not a great thing to look at, but using that technology has been so paramount for not just healing any injuries, but also making those muscles grow like bigger and stronger. I think if I could have, I would have saved up money years ago for one of these machines.
Do you feel like Frankenstein in there and everybody's just looking at you?
A little bit, yeah, a little bit. That was a good last year. You're going to go as Frankenstein and put your newbie on you.
So, tell me about a time that you got injured during bending and how you dealt with it.
Well, aside from that one where I put the nail through my hand, I broke the xiphoid process, the little bone hanging down in your sternum where your ribs separate there. I was doing a show where I was bending a 3/4 inch steel bar, a little bit shorter than I normally do, but I could hit the longer bars with some ease.
So is that bend where you put it against your chest here?
Yeah. And that's like, I started using a towel after that. I wasn't using a towel until that point.
Wow.
I was taking an angle grinder and I would like round off the edges of the steel, and it would sit there and do a lot of abdominal work anyways, because I knew a lot of old time strongmen were relying on like strong core strength for these ridiculous feats they would do, and I wanted to be that circus freak and run away someday. So I wanted to be ready for it, and so bracing the bar into my solar plexus wasn't as uncomfortable. And then I did feel like a click. I think I heard it. I know I felt like something give, and I thought, oh, did I just puncture myself? And that was at the same show I did at the Catholic Church, where I squeezed a can of root beer because there wasn't any diet soda. Used diet soda because there's no sugar, doesn't get sticky. I had root beer and I squeezed it, and the entire contents of the can made a beeline to like Father Flanagan's robes, like 2 tables over. It went past somebody else's table and got him fully. And part of me was like, I'm going to hell. The other part of me was like, maybe he's going to hell.
That was awesome. Yeah. I always wanted to be able to explode a pop can, so that's awesome.
You'll love it. It's not. I mean, I wouldn't say it's not hard, but it's a cool feat to practice on.
So, besides your stem machine, of course, because I think that's what you'd answer, what is the most important piece in your home gym and why?
I use the red light almost every day for recovery. Both on I haven't trained the day before, or whether I have, I'll use it every day. If anything's feeling a little bit out of sorts, or I just want to work on some like organ or autonomic nervous system health, the red light's been my clutch every day, almost every day.
Okay. So you've been around grip sport for quite a long time, and you've been around all the big names in it and whatnot. So where do you see the sport in 5 to 10 years? What direction do you see it taking?
Every week there's some new freak who comes out and blasts everybody out of the water. And they come from other sports like martial arts or rock climbing. I think the rock climbers are going to climb their way out of the rocks and into grip sport and arm lifting a lot more often, because you'll see guys like Tanner and Eves, getting some accolades from it. Eves having a little
that Widowmaker was ridiculous.
Oh
yeah.
There's another guy I just saw on YouTube, Andre Save, I think his name is. I don't know, the title of his video is World's Strongest Man That Never Competed, and he has some crazy like one-arm pull-ups at a super weight.
You could make up stories about Tanner and Eves Gravel and be like, I saw Tanner close to number 5, and everyone's going to be like, I believe it, because he has the horsepower. And Eves will do 300 one-arm pull-ups, and we'll believe it because he's Eves Gravel.
Does he have a Rolling Thunder one-arm pull-up?
Oh, I'm sure he does. If he doesn't, he probably can do however many he wants to. I saw him do it with the wrist roller, I think.
Okay. Yeah, because I know that's a really rare feat, the Rolling Thunder.
Yeah.
The only guy that I think could beat him is the arm wrestler with his 300-pound arm, and he weighs like 5 pounds.
Oh, Matty Schleit.
Matty Schleit, yeah.
Right.
Matty Schleit, yeah. He could totally do it. He could do one-arm pull-ups all day long for 3 days.
I love seeing the direction the sport's going with more women being involved. It is mostly like a boys' club in our sweatpants and our hoodies in the dungeon or the garage with chalk everywhere, and it's messy. But I've seen a lot of
all the time.
Oh yeah, not to call you out like that. But a lot of women they're not just like getting into the contest because the boyfriend or husband does it. They're already in powerlifting or already in other strength sports, and they want to, we say to them, hey, you're strong, try this event. Maybe you're good at it, and you could qualify to compete in a larger competition. It's really fascinating for them to do that. And so we see over the last few years in arm lifting an increase of female competitors, which is awesome because it's not a boys club and doesn't have to be.
Now, I was on the grip board kind of way back in the day when you were a little bit. So I saw some of Gaza's Bend, and I saw some of the crazy stuff that was going on way back in the day when Match Monster got created. Back then, I felt like there wasn't as much access to the information for training, or it wasn't like it's readily available where you knew what to train, what not to train. See, I just played with grippers for like 10 years.
Yeah.
And just with grippers, I got up to like a 2.5 gripper. I never did an axle, never did a blob, never did pinch stuff or any block weights or nothing else. So when I finally got into everything, I made some pretty big progress. I was way behind in other areas because I really had no idea how to train grip. Do you think that there's more access to grip now, or grip information on how to train it? And do you think that's something that's, evolving?
Yeah. Totally. The biggest thing you could do back then was write an article for somebody's weblog, and maybe you get like 20 viewers to learn how to tear decks of cards. Now I could post a video on social media and have 1,000 people learning how to do it in 5 minutes. It's fantastic, and it should spread like wildfire. Let's keep building it, keep growing it, keep talking about it. It's the first rule of grip sport, right? Talk about grip sport. So the more kind of attention we're giving to the training of it, and you don't have to charge for it, just give the shit away. Like, I got it for free for the most part. I'm giving it to you for free because it's more important that y'all know how to do it than it is that I make money from it. I've written articles in the past about how to tear decks of cards and how to explode pop cans and all that stuff. It's so rewarding to be able to push that forward. This was years ago. I don't know if they're even on the internet anymore. I'm sure everything's on the internet still. But the access to information makes it so much easier to learn. I'm learning from guys all the time too, not just about the freaks that are out there beating all the fat boys records, but about how to train with different techniques. Yeah,
absolutely. I think that's key component to helping the sport move forward is getting that information out. I think a part of it was, it started from people that made money off of it. It started from, shows, and you couldn't tell everybody how you did what you did to make money. It's just had to be kind of kept secretive. And I think that as the strongman show or the strongman character is starting to not quite to be as popular as anymore, at least the old time strongman, and we're seeing the sport evolve a little bit more, I think we're starting to see coaches and trainers actually say, hey, no, this is how it was done. This is the technique you need specifically to do it right, because we had no idea. And I've watched a couple card tearing videos, had no idea until we talked to someone yesterday that it's a similar technique to a phone book.
Yeah, in a lot of ways. Yeah. Just hands are here instead of here.
Yeah. Cause I did a phone book, when they were available, 15 years ago. And it wasn't a huge challenge once you made the peak in the pages and got it right. It wasn't a big challenge, but for me, cards, I'm just trying to brute them because half the videos you see on the internet, it's guys just tearing them as fast as they can.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. And I'll say it again, give it all away for free. There was a time when it was just like people training for grip with implements like Rolling Thunders and hubs, and those who were performing strongman, and they never got into the other really. And the performing strongman had reputations they wanted to keep profitable, so they wouldn't compete with the grip people on Rolling Thunder and stuff, because what if I beat Dennis Rogers at Rolling Thunder? I must be better than him. Buy my ebook. No, he's going to stay in his lane and do his thing. But now there's the performing strongman. It isn't as popular now, unfortunately. But the training for sports evolving grip strength is coming up so fast that there has to be a push to get more information out. I want to keep making more content myself on that. I think my Rolling Thunder video has like 7,000 views, and the Rolling Thunder 8-week program has over 250 downloads for people who found it. That's all free. Watch that, download that, use that program. I got a real job. I don't need to make money on grip stuff. Just give it away.
Absolutely. That's what we do when we invite people over here. Because we have a lot of people in the Northwest that are into obstacle course racing and like Spartan racing. And some of those guys are the guys that have come over here. And some of them have just blown us away with what they can do with grip. It's pretty awesome to see. And you teach them a little bit and they realize, oh, this will, benefit my sport tremendously. Yeah, we had a climber over here, who's 160 pounds or so, and he hub lifted a 45 left and right like it was nothing. First time he'd ever even tried.
Nothing for him.
Easy for him because his fingers were just stout.
Yeah, it's really interesting to see too. And then we invite some powerlifters over that you think are going to be strong at grip, and they absolutely just get smashed by you, and you're like, oh, that's different.
Guilty. That was guilty.
But that's what we're all about. Was
that what you when you started in grip?
Oh yeah, there was this strength historian up in the Bay Area when I lived just south of there. He's like, hey, I got an inch dumbbell. You want to come try it out? He's like in his 60s. He's only having it for his collection. I'm like, yeah, how much does it weigh? What does it do? I'm like, I remember telling him, I'm going to do dumbbell rows with it. You can take a picture if you want to, because he has this like magazine. You know how that ends. Like I got it and it spun like 6 or 8 times. I was like, there's some trick to this thing I'm not understanding yet. And he goes, the trick is to grab it really, really hard. And that was insulting and also very correct. But I bought that dumbbell from him and it moved with me across the country. I actually left it in New Mexico. I moved back to California. I flew back, rented a car, got the inch, and drove it back with me. Like that's how much the dumbbell means to me.
wow.
But when you think you're going to pick up a blob the first time or an inch the first time, just don't. Just come in and be happy to be in the room with these legendary tools.
Yeah.
Exactly. We have a blob that's sitting here that we just think of it as a paperweight for now. It's an original Fat Man, and we're really stoked that we have it. It came from Tim Livingston, and we're training with the Stronger Grips trainer to try to get up from Ryan Pitts. He makes some awesome stuff, by the way.
Yeah, he does.
His stuff is like artwork. It's fantastic.
Yeah.
So, we're hoping to work our way up to that with that. But for now, it's just a paperweight. So is our 300-pound Atlas stone because we don't use tacky. So, 300-pound Atlas stone without tacky is tough.
It's tough.
Yeah, it's tough.
And my ex would be like, why do you have all this garbage, these things you're not going to lift? It's just nice to have a collection for things that are in my hobby. And I have like a half a 140 York blob. Probably not going to lift it ever in my life. My hands just.
Oh, half a 140?
Wow. I think it's like 140.
That's
it weighs
bigger than a Blobzilla, right?
It's the Legacy. Even at the Legacy, it's like 66.8 pounds, I think. I'll have to double check it.
That's insane.
I didn't know there were blobs bigger than the Blobzilla. That's nuts.
Yeah.
I just have them around because I believe that one day I might be able to lift it. Something to shoot for.
Yeah, maybe it's a half a 120 and I'm misremembering. I got it from Lucas Raymond. But in any event, I put my hand on it.
I've heard there's some freak blobs beyond the Blobzilla. I've heard about like a 70-pound blob somewhere on the grip board. I heard about a 72-pounder or something like that. And there's some monster ones out there. I don't know what they're from, but they exist.
I got to like get off my butt because I'm here in Austin and the Stark Center for Physical Culture is at the university like 3 miles away. And they have all these old time dumbbells and all this stuff from the Performing Strongman days. I got to get in there and see it. And I wonder if they have any blobs or dumbbells that you can touch without wearing white gloves.
Absolutely. That'd be cool. It'd be way cool to get it. Yeah. We we have a lot of antique shops in our area. So we're always scoping out for old weights and old plates and everything. We're always in there. Got anything new today? Got any bent dumbbells from back in the day for decoration or whatever?
We cut them off.
So, yeah.
That was a lot easier before COVID when dumbbells went $4 a pound.
Yeah, exactly.
Back in my day.
That's what we'll be saying in 10 years.
Yeah, we try to tell people that when we're buying garage sale plates. Well, back in my day, it was only 50 cents a pound. What are you doing here?
Yeah, I used to pay like $35 a pound for new plates at the Plate-Again retailer back in California. And I'd be like, well, I can get the reusers for 15 cents a pound. I'm buying used plates 15 cents a pound. Now you can't get it for, I don't even know. This is why I don't lift anymore. It's just too expensive to lift.
Yeah, people are charging almost $2 a pound.
Yeah.
I don't know, maybe more now with the COVID and everything going on. It's ridiculous.
Somebody ought to do something about that.
I just saw actually today $1.90 a pound for kettlebells.
Thanks.
That's insane.
Yeah.
So, any last advice you have for the average person trying to get fit and healthy?
Ask a bunch of questions, get a coach, watch your videos, fail a lot. You're going to get hurt sometimes. Don't be afraid to push yourself. Any capacity, any limits you think you have on your own strength, or whether you will or will not be good at something, are total bullshit. You'll surprise yourself every week how far you can take it. And if you want to, you can take yourself around the world competing at different venues. There really is such a huge, huge, huge world and opportunity for you with grip stuff to not just impress your friends and woo girls with your card turning skills, but also
Does that
to
work?
she has to already be into you enough to see a little magic trick, but then maybe you get a second chance after that. I wouldn't open with that on Bumble though, for sure. But like, get after it, guys. Like, this is a new sport, lots of opportunities. Work hard at it. You could travel and compete. I'd never been out of the country until I got invited to go to Russia for Moss wrestling. I've been there 6 times now, including once in Siberia, in Norway and Dublin and
You were talking about moss wrestling?
all these places.
Yeah, that's a crazy sport. That's awesome.
All because I can like grip things hard. That's stupid.
Yeah.
I shouldn't do that. Do it, guys. Come on. It's so much fun.
And what we found out in the grip community is you guys are just so awesome. I mean, the legends that are big names, people that are champions, and everybody's just so willing to help you out and talk to you anytime. And I mean, a lot of them be like, yeah, come over to the gym, come work out with us. If you get here, we'll hang out and have a good time. I mean, it's almost so much different than any other sport or athletic out there just because the community is so great. I mean, something we've learned in the last year.
I won't put a name out there, but I emailed a big time powerlifter, has an apparel brand, very, very influential on social media, about working out, like working out with him in his group, because I had achieved a certain level of strength. I thought I had qualified in that. And he emailed me back to say that I could not work out with him, but I could work out on the same day as him. And there was a fee associated with that. So I could like pay to watch him work out in person.
Watch him work out.
Yeah, well, I worked out if I wanted to or not. And I thought to myself, like, that's not what I want to do. Even though I was running a gym at the time, I didn't want to make it so you had to pay me to watch me to work out. That's stupid. So this is why I'm like, just give it all away. Everything you learn, around, refine it, make it better for somebody else. There are lots of really smart people in grip sport and arm lifting who want to teach you things, and listen to them because they'll help you get really far really quickly.
And I know you guys have a pretty good hub there in Texas. There's a lot of you down there. So
yeah, there's a few of us in Austin, and then up in Dallas Fort Worth, about 3 hours north.
Yeah,
you got Taylor Local and Adam Glass and Tommy Jennings, and now there's just a half dozen big names up there now, and they're only getting bigger.
That's awesome.
Yeah, we've been invited to go out to Texas, so we might be excited to go do that too and work out with some of the big guys. So that's pretty awesome.
Yeah. Have you guys talked to Adam Glass yet on the show?
Yeah.
Yeah, we're planning on. He gave us dates of the 15th or the 22nd to head down there, and we're planning on being down there on the 22nd. So we're trying to get together, make plans right now, and get down there and do it.
That guy's wild, like a brother. He's so much fun and a great teacher as well.
Yeah, so we're excited to work out with him and
be a huge learning
put
opportunity.
up some numbers for his King Kong, since he said as promoters we could go down a week early and work out, and we're hoping to hang out and get some one-on-one training with him. That'd be incredible and just amazing. And like you said, the number one.
He's not going to charge us to watch him work out.
Yeah.
He's not, but he might feed you, and he cooks an amazing dinner. He's an incredible host, he and his wife. And just another one of those like amazing people in the sport who will do everything for you to keep you entertained and engaged in the sport.
And I'm sure he'll, work out and show us, that he's an alien and not human, but at least that'll be a free show.
I always tell people he like sees colors we don't see. He thinks in this wavelength. We think in this tract. He's way over here next to us, waving at us. He just sees things, limits not being limits to him years ago. And he's like, why not lift this 200-pound inch dumbbell 3 times each hand, for a workout twice a day? And most of us are thinking like, I can't lift it once. He's just so mentally, he's on some other level where he sees himself as accomplishing all these things. He's convinced you that you can do it. And then he does it over and over and over again. This is why he's like such like a next level guy.
Yeah, he definitely is. And then the best part is he still has somebody that could beat him and his buddy Tanner. So
right,
just to see that competition between the two of them is going to be awesome.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, that kid gets bigger and stronger every time I see him.
He's a monster. Absolutely. Yeah, Adam seems to be really in tune with who he knows is going to peak soon and who's going to, break this mark or break that mark. He seems to make good predictions about that consistently, I've noticed.
He's really
I think he's dead on that Mark Felix could at pretty much any time break the Ironman axle record.
I think so. His hands are so big and strong. I competed against Mark in Moss wrestling one time, or twice actually. And the one
Okay,
round.
so you've seen his monster hands up close on a stick in front of you.
Yeah, and I thought to myself,
Crazy.
like, the dumbest thing I've done, sitting across a 900-pound deadlifter with hands that are 9 inches long. And one round out of the 5 we matched in these 2 different contests, I pulled the stick out of his hands, and I think he just got tired and annoyed that I was grunting so loudly, and he just kind of like let it slip. But I thought to myself, like, maybe that's my crowning achievement. I pulled the moss out of Mark Felix's hands once, and then
That's a pretty big achievement.
every round after that, both in that match and the time later on, he kicked my ass. But that one time he gave me
That
like
one
a
time.
on and on.
That's awesome. Yeah, that guy's a monster. I've seen pictures of his hands on like the fat dumbbells, and it just looks like my hand on a regular dumbbell. And I'm like, come on, that's not even fair.
Yeah. I had him at the Arnold one year. We were doing moss wrestling and getting warmed up. And he had a massage stick, and he has an English accent. It's very, very polite, very soft spoken. And he taps me on the shoulder. He goes, fancy a rub? He holds me on the massage stick. And I was like, fancy a rub? Do you mean use the massage stick on you? And he takes off his shirt, turns around, and I was like, okay, Mark Felix says he was back. I guess I'll just massage your back now. How's that feeling? And then he goes, good, turn around. And then he does mine. And like, I didn't ask for that, but thank you, large and strong man.
That's awesome.
Fancy a rub was strange to me.
Yeah. Man,
The answer's always yes, by the way. The answer's always yes.
yeah. It's going to be neat to see where he's at in 10 and 20 years. He's ageless. Just unbelievable.
Mm-hmm.
So before we let you go, do you have any questions for us, Couch Potato Strong?
Man, what's next for you guys? You're doing this podcast now. You got I got to get one of those potatoes. What's next for you guys? You got the contest coming up, and then what?
Well, we're doing the 2 contests coming up in July. And from there, we're going to be selling our T-shirts and putting the potatoes packed in with the T-shirts, so we'll be able to get the potatoes out to more people. So that's how we're going to get the potatoes out a little bit further to everybody. And we're going to continue to just interview athletes, give out free advice for everybody. And eventually I'll start mixing in a little bit of my expertise in it. So I've done self-defense training. My martial arts is primarily focused on real-world self-defense. And I believe that grip is a key aspect to that. It could make a huge difference in your self-defense capabilities, especially in women. So I want to start putting out some videos on grip defense and how to train your grip to better prepare yourself for a real-world encounter.
Great. That's going to be a lot of really useful thing for a lot of people.
Absolutely.
And I think just continuing to get the knowledge out, like you're talking about, getting everybody involved, getting more people from crossover events.
He's gotten everybody from the obstacle races and Spartan guys, so he's going to be bringing in more athletes to grip.
That's my goal, is bring more crossover people, show everybody grip sport is an actual sport that you could have fun with, compete in. The community is awesome. Right now I'm going to OCR races and getting my ass handed to me, but at least they come over and try grip out, and then I get them back a little bit there. But just building the community, building a grip sport in the Northwest again, and helping people get fit and healthy. I mean, you could live so much longer in a healthy life, and just being able to enjoy life. And I just think working out, doing something with the community is so important for your mental health. It's unbelievable. And being able to at least start to conquer that whole thing, depression, mental health, anything you can, in a different way that brings just a great lifestyle to people is huge. So that's
I love that.
Something that we want to do.
From being a kid who weighed well over 400 pounds and feeling like my body was just a burden, and then finding sports where my size was an advantage that didn't involve running and hitting people like in football, I felt like having I finally had like a purpose for this vessel to do something and feel the empowerment of doing something with it rather than being ashamed of it all the time. So what you're talking about with someone's mental health, the next world champion is yet to even close their first trainer.
Exactly.
The journey they take from discovering your podcast and discovering grip sport and arm lifting to that, their whole life's going to change. The way they feel about themselves is going to change, and you'll be a part of it. And the more content we all put out, the more those people will find their true kind of sport for their own vessel.
Absolutely. And I think just having a sport that you can stay healthy in, compared to something like football where you leave football, you're damaged, you could have CTE, you could have all kinds of different issues. easily get addicted to painkillers and stuff because you just hurt so much compared to, something like we're doing. Well, you build strength, you keep it into your old age, and you can continue to live healthy and be strong even when you're older. It'll help you so much, prevent falls, and have your body strong enough to withstand some of the things you're going to face when you're older.
Yeah, exactly. Other than like traditional martial arts and Tai Chi, grip is one of the few sports we see guys 75 years old doing it.
Yeah.
And I think that's awesome.
Absolutely.
So what potato record do you have your sights set on?
Oh man, I don't know.
See, Rob Frampton got our deadlift record, and then it got beat by James Jeffers up in Canada. So those are some pretty big gripsters that set those records, and we want to try to get that record back in the U.S.
What did Jeffers get?
What's that?
What did he get?
He got 182 on the golden potato deadlift.
Okay. I can beat it.
That's a tough lift. It's like a pinch on one side and a fingertip lift on the other. It's brutal.
It looks terrible.
Matt Bishop couldn't beat it. We thought he would beat his buddy and beat Rob, but he couldn't do it apparently.
I'll give it a shot.
We've had some monster guys over here with 700-pound deadlifts that struggled to pull much more than 140 pounds off the ground with it. So
wimps.
That's right. Mike, I can only deadlift maybe 450, 500 pounds, and I can do 135 on the golden potato. Come on.
That whole sentence was so good. And if you don't do any grip stuff, you won't understand any of it.
Exactly. All right, cool. Well, do you have anything else you wanted to say or plug or anything to talk about before you go?
I mean, I'm good. I appreciate the opportunity to speak about my favorite subject, me, and a little history of the Edgin bolt. It would mean a lot if in 10 more years I pop back on the grip board and it's still called the Edgin bolt and not the potato bolt or something like that. I might get my feelings hurt. But you guys you have this icon now of the potato, the golden potato. You've already made your mark on that, kind of on the community. And keep putting out that content, man. People need to learn about this sport and find empowerment in their bodies and really feel good about who they are. And this sport is a good way of doing it.
Absolutely. It's a great, easy way to get a lot of positivity out there.
Exactly. I think we got to take all your guys' advice too and actually become really strong and hopefully put up some huge numbers one day. Too.
It's not worth it. It's not worth it. Don't do it. It's not worth it.
Don't do it.
All the weight unloading and loading is just.
Exactly. I saw those videos of you loading all them 45s and moving around forever. Oh, come on.
I mean, you got to get efficient with it after a while, or else you just leave them there and the owner gets mad.
Yeah. Maybe if I get big enough and cool enough, I could be like those powerlifters and I'll just invite people over. I won't charge them to watch me work out. They just have to load my weight for me.
Yeah.
Teach them how to do squats with the plate. Make it part of their exercise routine. There you go. Well, it was nice chatting with you.
Hey, you two guys. Thank you so much.
Really appreciate you coming on and taking the time and just putting out some great content for us and sharing your knowledge with everybody. So that's awesome.
Sure. Let me know how we can collaborate in the future.
Absolutely.
We'll figure out something for sure, even if we have to come down and hang out and do something cool. For sure.
Austin's pretty cool, man. You guys are going to like it.
Yeah.
Well, we're from Portland. I heard it's just as weird.
It's pretty weird. Yeah.
Well, keep Austin weird thing. We have the keep Portland weird thing up here. So
it's a similar weird. We don't have any IPAs here. I'm sorry.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
That's all right. We'll get them from Michigan from our buddy that runs a brewery. So
apparently all the IPAs must be up here. We have hundreds of them.
Yeah.
All righty. Well, take care.
Thanks, guys.